Hello everybody and welcome to Moto In Depth. Today we're going to be recapping Glendale Supercross here from just this last weekend. It was quite an uneventful one, but we had a new winner, Ken Roczen, that's being underappreciated right now, in my opinion. Haven't heard enough buzz about him. I thought he had a really nice week. Jet Lawrence in his good week. Eli Tomac on a comeback after a not so good week. Chase Sexton was your red plate holder and suffered an injury and kind of hindered him throughout the day. So we'll be talking about that, and then we'll also hit on some of the 250 stuff. But first, obviously, gonna have to hit the 450s, and we'll start with the winner. Somehow a win has eluded Ken Roczen up to this point. I throwed his name out there when we were talking about possible winners in the preview show here for Glendale. I mentioned Ken Roczen obviously has a chance. He's super talented on these hard packed tracks. A lot more slip, I guess, a lot more slipperier, maybe? I don't know, words are difficult. Yeah, Ken Roczen just has always been super good on these sort of conditions, so you can never count him out. And yeah, I'm not really surprised he went out and won, but I'm surprised about the buzz and the lack of talk on social media and the hype around Ken Roczen. He's been riding super well all year. Results really haven't shown it. He's had some unfortunate luck to start his season, but I believe he is only 13 points down now. So Ken Roczen is probably a guy to start talking about here as a possible like top 3 guy, especially if this is a long-term thing. It's a bone bruise for Chase Sexton, but almost so severe it almost knocked him out of Glendale Supercross. He almost was considering not racing it, but he was able to push through the pain. But it definitely showed that he was injured. Definitely not the best day for him. You know, Ken Roczen might be able to slide up a spot or two if Chase Sexton consistently finishes outside of this top 5, and Ken Roczen with a win this early in the season is great momentum, a great place for Ken Roczen's mental state right now, in my opinion. And I would really love to see Ken Roczen capitalize on some of the confidence and momentum he'll have heading forward. Now, given we do have that week off, that might slow things down a little bit for Kenny, but I think he'll be just fine and head in with enough confidence and, like I mentioned, momentum and the knowing he can, and with a good enough start. He just needs to make it out of the first turn. That's where he's had the most issues. He said it multiple times in the press conference. I think Ken Roczen just needs to get out of the first corner, put himself in a top 5 spot, and he is most likely a podium guy, or should be considered for the podium every single time he starts up in like the top 5. He's been very good, consistently fast, and not freakishly consistent. Obviously he's had his mistakes, but he's been fast. I would just say fast. I'm not gonna oversell it here, but yeah, Ken Roczen coming out winning one doesn't surprise me, but I am surprised about the amount of hype, like I said, we are not getting on Ken Roczen right now. Jason Anderson comes out and gets second. Now he did better than I thought, and I was like, okay, we need to see a top 5 here from Jason and kind of salvage the night. But no, you know how he has the loose style where, you know, I expected him to be a little fishtaily. I didn't really expect him to have his back wheel planted the whole time, but he looked really good, and there was no way Jason Anderson was going to get passed by Jet at the end of this one, although Jet did kind of close it in a little bit, and if he had a little bit more time, I think Jet could have gotten up to Jason, but no telling what could have happened if those two met. Anderson was good. He had a great pace throughout the race, just ended up being a little bit more inconsistent than Ken Roczen, especially by halfway through, just kind of lost touch. And Ken Roczen again was just really consistent throughout this main event. Jason Anderson wasn't exactly there for all of it, didn't really get to adapt with Ken Roczen or see what Ken Roczen was doing. Just like I said, kind of fell out of touch after making a few mistakes, after feeling like he had the opportunity to get past Ken Roczen, or at least get up to him. You know, Anderson, it is what it is, but this is great. I think that he is underrated as hell. I said his name coming in, saying he is an underrated guy. I think he is like a winner. I think he wins like multiple by the end of the season. And as long as he just keeps clicking off these podiums to top 5s, we're going to see a close points race here at the end, as Jason Anderson slowly becoming more recognized as how good he's been through the start of this season. Through 5 rounds, Anderson really has been probably the most consistent. Obviously not, because he's not the points leader, but has been more consistent than people give him credit for. I'll put it that way. And Anderson coming out getting a second. It did surprise me on these conditions, but when you just look at a score sheet in a Supercross race, seeing Jason Anderson at number 2, not surprising at all. And Anderson will be a guy I look for the win in the upcoming rounds, or if by the end of the season, I think he'll have multiple wins. I would bet on it, but I wouldn't like stake my life on it. But Jason Anderson, definitely a fun rider, super fun to watch. Probably one of my favorite to watch, especially mid-moto, where he's doing these lines and I guess just letting it all hang out. He's got a very fun riding style to watch. It's very loose. He's very I guess just in touch with the bike, knowing what it's going to do. He looks comfortable, and when he does, like I said, very fun to watch. Lawrence surged through the pack to finish in the podium spot. At one point, he was actually behind Chase Sexton, who finished 9th after a little run in there with Cooper Webb. Ended up getting Cooper Webb, ended up getting the legend Eli Tomac. I wouldn't say getting as much as Eli let him go, but we'll hop into that when we talk about Eli here in just a minute. Jet Lawrence, just like I said, surged up to that 3rd place spot, made some quick moves, and showed some urgency, and it was nice not to see him crash. Now, he did have the issue on the triple where he cased it in both his heat race and in the main event, coming up short a couple times. He did have a nice save in there, but I think what it was is the way he scrubs is so good, and a lot of guys do it the same way, but it's to the point where you're losing traction on purpose to stay lower. That's what a scrub is you're getting closer to the ground and whatever, and you're not like treading the tire up. So if that makes any sense at all, I don't know how to really describe it. I've never really described a scrub before, but that's how these guys are staying a little bit lower. And Jet ended up cutting down, I believe, and didn't have enough power. I think he should have stayed a little bit more upright, but he just tended to scrub there, or just wanted to, or had the I guess, yeah, tendency. So Jet Lawrence in 3rd place is not a bad finish from what it could have been if he had fallen there, or if the mistakes really popped out, or if he, you know, pushed the issue a little too hard. I still think he did a good job having great urgency through the beginning of this the main event, through the first like 10 minutes or so, when he was put off the track by Cooper Webb in the sand corner. I think he rebounded really well. I think Jet is probably the guy to beat. I do believe he has the red plate now. Jet looks a little bit more like himself after these mud races really threw him off. I think mentally that was a big one for him, and now I think he's figuring it all out, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Do not let him start in the top 5 out of the first corner. I think he'll win every time. It's very hard to say he won't. Jet Lawrence is really good, and especially with Chase Sexton injured and riding a little bit more consistent and conservative, I think that Chase wouldn't really be the one to put in the charge to beat him. I think it would have to be an Eli Tomac or a Jason Anderson, and possibly Ken Roczen, if anyone has any chance at all. Cooper Webb, I can actually see doing that one too, but we'll see. I mean, we have a whole season ahead of us here. I think another 12 rounds, obviously, right? So I'm excited to see it, right? But it might get a little boring here soon when Jet Lawrence breaks more than 15 points out in the championship lead. So if that happens, it might dull down a little bit. But right now, and up to this point, it's been very fun to watch, and Jet Lawrence has struggled, which, one, I'm not rooting for, but two, I think it's good for the sport in a way, to the point where, like I said, it wouldn't dull down. It wouldn't be Jet Lawrence Motocross 22-0 go to 17-0. Like, it's good that he didn't start hot and continue that through the first 5 rounds. Seemed untouchable, and just like that, we know who wins. So it's good that he did struggle, but he's really starting to find himself, and these boys better not let him, like I said, get out and start inside that top 5 and just take it to him, because Jet Lawrence definitely has the speed, and he's more than capable of letting these boys know he's much better than them. Eli Tomac in 4th. It's a nice redemption ride, though he did fall 5 seconds behind Jet Lawrence by the end of the moto. I don't know exactly what is happening with Eli Tomac. I couldn't tell you, but the late race, like, fall off was not great to see. He almost got, well, I wouldn't say almost got caught, but he fell further back towards Hunter than he was with Jet, after just letting Jet kind of go by. So that was a little, not annoying, but Eli, it's getting hard to root for him, because even when you have a guy like Eli, a legend, a great racer, right? You don't just let people by, let alone Jet Lawrence. Like, I'm not saying I'm losing respect, but it's like hard to root for Eli Tomac when you know he's just gonna pull off to the side when he's not feeling it, when he's not comfortable. Like, there's plenty of rumors out there, and he's yet to address or straight up come out with an answer. I'm sure we'll have to wait till his retirement for that, maybe 5 years removed when he's on a, you know, some podcast after we haven't heard from him for 4 years. Like, Eli Tomac is just, I don't know. We don't know, and it's hard to speculate. And like I said, there are plenty of rumors going around. Yes, he got 4th place. Yes, that's great. He's been a good starter, but again, just let Jet pass him, and then boom, just like that, 5 seconds, and just added onto the lead by the end of the main event. It's not a good sign, but hopefully Eli, hopefully it's just like arm pump or fitness. I'm hoping that's the case, and by like mid-season, maybe in the next like 3 rounds, he'll be pretty good. But Eli Tomac, hard to tell, but at 4th place overall, great finish compared to what he did last week, and might have shown last week and what could have happened this week had he, you know, fallen off the pace or whatever is happening with Eli Tomac a little earlier, because he had Hunter and Ferrandis, Webb, Malcolm, all probably would have capitalized on it. Hunter Lawrence, a 5th place. I think that would probably be his best career finish in the 450 class. Did a really good job, and I think it's coming out in the heat. I think there was something different with him. You can kind of tell he was a little bit more feisty. He wanted and needed to be there. There was a bit more urgency. There was a bit more racing involved there. There wasn't that, I wouldn't say scared rookie, as much as I would say that over respect, or the amount of respect, I guess, was a little much there from Hunter Lawrence, I should say. Where in the past, when he'd have a Dylan Ferrandis, Cooper Webb, or something right behind him, if they got an inside line on him and they were a little bit faster through a rhythm, I think he would have just like kind of, yeah, go ahead, I'm still learning. But this week he was good, got that good start, and was actually doing a pretty good job keeping his speeds up, and ended up, you know, figuring it out and bringing it to the boys, and ended up 6 seconds ahead of practice teammate there, Dylan Ferrandis. Say practice teammate, I should say like practice partner. I know Dylan Ferrandis trains up there with them, the Hunter, the Lawrence brothers. Damn, can't speak. I don't know English for the life of me. But yeah, Hunter Lawrence, great showing, and I can't wait to see if he, 1, keeps this up, or 2, I mean, I would really love to see him keep it up, or 2, but like shows that respect again, or not. I mean, Hunter is not a question mark, but he's been like a 6th to 10th place guy, or like 7th to 10th place guy. So it's nice to see him take another step up, and I'll can't wait to see him like gradually step up, and I choose him to get a podium at some points in the season, or at some point in the season for sure. Hunter is he's got great technique. If you ever watch Hunter Lawrence, it's not quite Jet Lawrence, because Lawrence blends a nice little bit of talent and wow factor to it. Hunter Lawrence is just very well suited for a dirt bike. He's just trained hard, and you can tell in his riding style, the way he approaches it, the way he rides, the way he looks on the bike. And we'll go to the next guy who's kind of fallen off. Cooper Webb finished in 7th, and only 1 second in front of Mookie, Malcolm Stewart. So Webb at this point, I believe he's 10 points down, like 4th place in the championship. Can't keep riding like this, and as we head east after this week off, hopefully he gets a little bit better. I'd like to see him stir it up. I'd like to see him get another win by the end of the season. I don't really know where his pace was. I honestly couldn't tell you. Cooper Webb was just kind of a middler this week, and I feel like it's been anything but that for the beginning of the year. Heading into round 5, Glendale comes around. He's historically not great here at all, and Cooper Webb, like, he's literally had 0 success here or at Glendale whatsoever. Like, it's never been a thing for Cooper Webb, right? So he comes out, gets 7th, and might look forward to a little bit more traction on the East Coast. So Cooper Webb, be a guy to watch, but didn't really head into this saying Cooper Webb's a guy that can win, but I also didn't think he'd be so, I hate to say mid, because that's like kind of, you know, whatever, but yeah, he was definitely a middler, and no other way you could really put it. Mookie, Malcolm Stewart, been waiting for this. He breaks into the top 10. He's starting to get that momentum back. Had a great heat race, ending up 2nd and finishing just in front of Hunter Lawrence, I believe, in the first heat. I missed the first half of that, but I saw he was off to a great start, and I think he was even leading at one point in the heat race. So Malcolm Stewart starting to really work his way back into things. First top 10 finish in the season, I believe. I'll check that real quick. That way I don't don't really look so terrible here. But since then, yeah, so his first, okay, I guess he finished 10th in Anaheim too. So his first one inside the top 9, I should say. So it's a good I guess good job for him for at least punching in a result before the break, because last thing you need to do is get 20th or whatever, have 15th place on your mind for another week. Maybe that forces you to grind a little bit more or whatever, but it is what it is, honestly, when you look at it. As a rider, like, you've had a rough start to your championship, you know, you kind of just are out there and your mind can get out of it for sure. And I think his mind is right back in it. He's always been a positive mindset type of guy, and I think that he's carried that very well heading further into this championship, into the season. Malcolm's kept a nice headspace and did a good job getting a career, or not a career best, but a season best here in 8th place, doing a good job putting up a decent pace. He wasn't incredibly fast, and he wasn't in those in the top like second of the like Ken Roxon's best lap was a 104.1. And we saw Malcolm Stewart's best lap of 105.28, and a lot of that has to do with where you're placed in traffic and whatnot. So Mookie, great ride, and hopefully he continues to build on it. Now Chase Sexton, with his left hand apparently hurt, it was said to be a bone bruise, and one so severe it could have knocked him out of Glendale. Had a practice tip over, really affected him, and again was questioning even racing and showing up for Glendale. Luckily he did and salvages a top 10. Hopefully he is all good heading in, 2 weeks here, because obviously they have the week off. He needs to be there. This is such a bummer when you look at the championship as a grand scheme. I think this is also flying under and not getting enough attention as a situation here. This is your points leader. This is your perhaps championship favorite after the first 4 rounds. And just like that, a 9th place finish, the season worst for Chase Sexton, knocks him right out of the points lead, elevates the next guy in Jet Lawrence, and you don't like to see it by any means. It is a good shakeup, so it's good for the sport. Chase, it's such a bummer, but it's happened to him countless times where he never just goes down in practice, by the way, and does he's like, well, I hit my head, but I'm good, cleared concussion protocol or whatever they do in AMA. No questions here. It's a sketchy process for Chase Sexton after a practice crash. It always seemed to be something big that carries into the weekend. So Chase Sexton happily finishing inside that top 10, I'm sure, after dealing with a little extra pain this weekend, or this past weekend, I guess. Aaron Plessinger, his teammate. Now I'm gonna have to go do something, and that is watch back, because I believe Aaron Plessinger had a good start and then just watch the front out. I don't remember where he was, so I'm gonna go check up on that. Yep, just watched 450 Heat 2 back, and very dominant performance there from AP. Heads into the night show, or I guess was the night show, but heads into the main event. Had a very good start, very good pace, sticking right there with Kenny. Jason Anderson, a little pressure from behind, ends up popping and just buries the front wheel. It is very unfortunate for Plessinger. Never really found or kept touch after that tip over early in the race. Put him down a lot of positions when you go down early in a race like that, because nobody really has that separation yet, and just didn't really find himself after that. Found himself 43 seconds behind the lead though, so a little unfortunate. And I hope the best from here on out for Plessinger. He should still have all the confidence in the world, and I really think that he is a guy not for the championship now. I mean, obviously he's still in 3rd. I think he's just shown that there's too many chinks in the armor. I'm not gonna lie. And some of these other guys are really coming on strong. Only 2 points behind him is Jason Anderson. Only 1 point behind him is Cooper Webb. And more importantly, only 6 points behind him is Ken Roxon, and 8 points behind that is Eli Tomac. You have a absolute group of guys that are all in it to do nothing but win it. Right behind you, and Aaron Plessinger really has to show he's one of those guys real soon, or if he's a little bit casted out, a little bit away, a little bit off that, then I think that's where we see a little bit of the like I said, the chink in the armor for Aaron Plessinger is the unfamiliarity being up here, being the guy this caliber in the 450s this late in a season already. And I apologize, it is round 6. I kept mentioning it was round 5, so I do apologize. Little error on my part. So Aaron Plessinger just needs to put it together. I really was pulling for him there. 2nd place, all the way down after that front tuck and finishes 10th. So very unfortunate. Had another chance at the red plate here had he salvaged a good performance, with Chase Sexton doing poorly due to his injury. And yeah, it was considered a bone contusion. Also heard that on the broadcast, said he couldn't ride on Thursday, literally had no feeling. So we got a long championship ahead of us, and Aaron Plessinger really's got to stamp in his place, or I think he'll be a little, like I said, a little bit outcasted, or a little bit of an outcast in the group of the top 5, 6, 7 guys. So Aaron Plessinger, hopefully, like I said, rebounds, does well, and I think he has all the reason to. I think he should still have all the confidence, momentum rolling his way. Still very consistent and great off the line. He's been doing more than enough to prove that he's a good starter, and we'll see how it shakes out for the 450 class. So Levi Kitchen ends up becoming your points leader by 4 points over Jordan Smith, and just 1 point behind Jordan Smith is RJ Hampshire. And then there's a pretty significant gap all the way back to Garrett Marchbanks and Joe Shimoda, who are 87 and 74 points on the season. They haven't even hit those triple digits. But the order ran RJ, Levi, Joe, Jordan Smith, and Garrett Marchbanks in the main event to end it. RJ Hampshire just found himself in a fortunate spot, and then just was able to find a good pace and really put it out there. And RJ didn't make a mistake, didn't do the Rick James, and absolutely toss what could be a good result away. And now he only finds himself 5 points out of the championship. So it's getting pretty tight here between RJ, Levi, and Jordan. And now we have a disruptor in Shimoda who's starting to figure it out. What I mean by disruptor is you have this group at the top of the 1, 2, and 3 riders with Levi, Jordan, and RJ. And now you have Joe Shimoda who's starting to find pace, find confidence, find that momentum and confidence factor. Like I said, with your with riding comes a lot of, like, it's mental. A lot of it is mental, and I think people undervalue that aspect of the sport. But Joe Shimoda is very good and always has been. I really love watching him ride. He can actually ride like off the side of a dirt bike. It's insane watching some of his corners and how he maneuvers through rhythm sections sometimes. It's just super fun to watch. So I'm really rooting for the Joe Show, Far East Coast. A lot of names can go out there for Joe Shimoda, but he just needs to be better at executing a start. Did that and got third after an unfortunate Jordan Smith. Like, people are saying that he should be deducted points or an official warning or something for jumping on the whatever. A lot of controversy surrounds that. Maybe I'll do a whole nother video around that situation if I get like 2 requests or 3. So I know people do want to hear on like how that works and stuff, and I'll dive into the rule books and whatnot if I have to. But yeah, a couple other guys I would like to hit on. I mean, I basically summed it up for the top 3. RJ didn't throw it away. Levi somewhat kept touch, was within 3 seconds of the lead pretty much the whole time. Just riding a conservative race, in my opinion. Didn't really see a whole lot of like surging speed from him. Didn't really see a second half effort. Levi kind of just did Levi, and I think that's fine. And Jordan Smith, I think 2 crashes I think he had, and still ended up 4th. So good for Jordan, and we'll see how he does. And again, like I mentioned, recapped it with Joe Shimoda being a disruptor and someone that could look to put a dent in someone's championship with these constant inside the top 5 situations or finishes, and put some of these guys in unfortunate situations to get around Joe Shimoda. And maybe Joe Shimoda ends up on the ground because he's not a part of the championship. He's not supposed to be running up there, but he needs to show that same aggression back, and I'd really like to see that. Now we can talk about 5th place, Garrett Marchbanks. I think he's just a little out of touch. I think he's more of that mud rider we were talking about, and we're really seeing him struggle. And heading east, I'm actually more excited to see how he does, and if he can get his confidence back up, see if he can get a top 4, and then kind of build off that. Juju Bomer ended up finishing 7th place. I was really hoping for a lot more from him on a track like this. There is a lot of rookie mistakes that happen. I get that, but Juju, I would like to see him do really good. But you know who actually stood out to me a whole lot in both this heat and the main? It's Carson Mumford, until something happened to him in that race, but did a very, very good job in his heat race. I really was happy for Carson. He looked very comfortable. He looked very on it. He looked very urgent, and I think he's been missing that his whole career and feeling like he belongs. I don't feel like he's ever had that fair shot. Well, obviously he was with Team Geico Honda, and then actually got a fill-in ride last year on Monster Energy Pro Circuit, but never has he ever had like the time and has developed enough on a single bike to really perform. And if he sticks another year on this MCR Honda, I think that he has a chance to go out top 10 championship run in the motocross season. Would be so good for him. And then I think if he can go into Supercross next year on this MCR, I think it might be the Bullfrog, whatever, the Honda, whatever Honda he's riding now. I can't remember the team he's on, but I'm pretty sure it's the old MCR or Smart Top, whatever. And if it isn't, I apologize, right? But Carson Mumford needs to go out and put up like top 5 Supercross championship, like finish inside the top 5 in points in a Supercross championship next year to really solidify himself and maybe get another one of those factory rides. Now that is a lot to ask, and Carson Mumford has constantly been injured throughout his career, so hopefully all goes really well from him or for him. I really do root for him. He's so I don't know, he's such a homer, I guess, from California. A lot of these guys are, but yeah, Carson Mumford, just watched him from a young age. I had a CRF 150R, and that's what Carson rode in the amateurs as well. Like, he was kind of the one-off guy. It was a lot of 125s, 85s, like the super minis and stuff like that. Carson Mumford did it differently, and he was like one of the only guys on a 4-stroke. So that was really really fun to watch as well. So when it all comes down to it, I hope to see a little bit of these guys kind of pick it up, and Juju Bo-Mare going in, you know, going into the break. Hopefully he can polish a few things up. Carson Mumford, same thing, and hopefully he finds some consistency there, as he's been good at starting, and I think he just needs to do a better job feeling comfortable up front. And I think that's pretty much it, and that'll be all for me. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, go check past content on the channel, and get me a reading book, because I need to read, learn some English, because I really can't talk. That'll be all. See you guys next time. Deuces.